Welcome to the Superconscious Success Podcast, where Jen and her Superconscious Success family co-hosts bring you valuable content each and every week on topics relating to manifestation, spirituality, and most of all, using your superconscious to manifest success in all areas of your life. Now on to today's episode.
Hey there, Superconscious Success fam. Welcome back to another interview on the Superconscious Success Podcast. Today we're actually going to be talking to Christelle Biiga about how to gain clarity and confidence through inner peace. Now, Christelle is a former corporate executive, radio and TV host, turned alignment coach, motivational speaker and podcast host. Christelle Biiga grew up in a strict religious environment filled with judgment, intolerance and division. Her relationship with her dad suffered from the fact that he had different views on spirituality, and by the time he passed away, they were barely in contact. At age 27, she decided to abandon all that she'd been taught, all that she knew, and she embraced the unknown. That journey has led her to a path where unconditional love is the only reality. Today, she helps female leaders gain clarity and confidence from within by finding that inner peace. She's also a published writer and motivational speaker that has been featured on Authority magazine, several podcasts, and invited to several women leadership and entrepreneur groups and events. She hosts a podcast on Transformation Talk Radio called Absolute Alignment with Christelle, When Success Feels Easy. So definitely head across and check that out. Hi, Christelle. How are you today?
Hello, Jen. I'm doing great. How about yourself?
I'm doing amazing. I'm so excited to be talking to you and to talk about a topic that I think affects so many of us, and that is really figuring out where our life is leading and where we're wanting our life to lead, how we can gain that clarity. And then, of course, as we're discussing today, having the confidence to follow through with our desires and our dreams. So we're going to be talking about that. And so it's kind of like two parts. We're going to first start off by talking about the clarity part of it, and then we'll move on into the confidence. So can we start off by just defining what is clarity and what's the root cause that may be causing us to lack that clarity in our life?
So yes, simply clarity for me, because right now everybody can go on Google and type the word clarity and have a definition, right?
Yeah.
But I'm going to just speak on to as an entrepreneur, what is clarity? Why people always talk about clarity, right? Because for me, clarity is having a clear vision of what you want, a clear picture of what you are looking for, looking to achieve, like a goal or a dream, whatever it is. It has to be crystal clear in your mind. Yeah. You have to know exactly what it is. And funny enough, so many people don't know exactly what they want. Yeah. Most people know what they don't want. And when you ask people, what do you want? It's so fast and easy for them to start by what they don't want. Yeah. I don't want a boss that is giving me a headache. I don't want a stressful job. I don't want a stressful partner. I don't want this. I don't want that. Because it's like we are not wired to know exactly what we want. It's kind of scary for people to really tap into that clarity of being firm and clear on, this is what I want. This is what I'm going for. This is what I'm creating. Yeah. So for me, that's the clarity piece, having that clear picture of what it is that you want. And why are people so confused about that? Why people have such a hard time to know exactly what it is that they want? Yeah. Simply because we live in a world where there is a model for everything. They tell everybody what is right, what is wrong, how things should look like, how things should be. And in the midst of trying to figure out how to fit in all those boxes, people lose their clarity. They don't know anymore what they want, because it feels like everyone else knows what, for example, we are women. Let's talk about it. Everybody knows how a woman needs to sit, how she needs to laugh, not too loud, right? Everybody seems to know.
The social norms.
Yeah. Exactly. So many norms that, people have to put on with. And we all have that desire to be accepted, to be loved, to belong, which means that in the process of trying to belong to a certain group, be accepted, be loved, be liked, we lose our clarity. We lose the focus on what it is that we want for ourselves. Yeah. Because sometimes people think this is what I want, but usually it's not. It's something that everybody else around them want, and they just feel like the logical thing to want.
They're actually living someone else's dream. And I want to just backtrack just a little bit, and just go a little bit into your story as to why you've actually, clarity and confidence is something that you're so passionate about, because you had a time during your life growing up that you had these problems with your father. And was that something that really triggered this particular topic in your life, is gaining clarity what you want? Was there something in the relationship that kind of triggered that?
It's really interesting, and I like that you asked the question, because the reason why I added that part of my life in my bio is because I realized that everything in our life contributes to the person we are. Mm-hmm. And entrepreneurship, as I love to tell my clients sometimes, is the journey of your life, mm-hmm. which means you are not just creating a business, you are becoming somebody in the process.
Yeah.
Right? You are reinventing yourself or remembering yourself in the process of building a business or building, whatever will be growing in your career, whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish in life, it doesn't happen without you. Yeah. So in the process of creating all those things, you are the main piece, the centerpiece of that picture. So for me, like you're asking about if my past with the religion and my relationship with my dad, what does that have to do with what I'm talking about today? The clarity, the confidence, it has everything to do. Yeah. And I want to share that because I believe, one of the reasons, not the only one, but one of the reasons why people are struggling with finding that clarity of knowing exactly what they want is that they forgot who they are.
Yeah.
We grew up in different, environments, right? I grew up in a religious family. Some people never had any interaction with religion whatsoever. Some people did. Some people still are religious. I'm not anymore. Some people call themselves spiritual, and some people call themselves atheists, whatever it is. But that spiritual piece is so important.
Yeah.
And once we have a troubled relationship, like I did, with God, source, the universe, whatever name you want to call it, you can decide to ignore it. You can be angry at it, because I was there. I was so angry at some point. I didn't even want to hear somebody mention the word God next to me. I was really, all my body will crawl. But all those things that we shut down in our lives end up really dimming our light and put us in that place of confusion. Because when we don't know clearly who we are, it's really hard for us to know what we want. Because what we want is for a person. And who is that person? That's you. Do you remember who you are? And all those parts of our lives come together. When we talk about, career or entrepreneurship or whatever, there is nothing to leave on the side. Everything is important. Everything comes together. But so often we tend to try to separate. We think it's possible to separate, there's not, and I've been there, I've done that for a long time. I never really mentioned my religious path until not long ago, because in my head, who cared, right? It didn't have anything to do with my business.
It's part of your
It wasn't
story.
relevant.
It's part exactly. Of the story. And I totally get where you're coming from, Christelle, because I believe that if you're an authentic person that is out there to try to help as many people as you can, then your story is very important, because there are other people out there that are dealing with the same issues that they could actually learn from your story and can actually connect with you. I'm all about connection, and I believe that in order to be able to connect with someone properly, it is about knowing their story and connecting with their story and understanding who they are from a deep level. So I get exactly what you're talking about, but it is alarming the amount of people that they do try to separate it. It's like, I'm an entrepreneur and this is what I'm teaching, but you can't actually get into who they are as a person. And it can make it a little bit difficult. So if somebody is scared to go out there and scared to to put themselves out there. What are some ways, and I suppose this actually goes into the confidence part, so we're kind of like cross-linking, but that's all for
It's okay.
all fine. It all goes together.
You can go all over the place.
Yeah. So how would somebody then go and get the confidence to put themselves out there and stop worrying about being judged and being criticized for the person that they are?
It really comes down to checking within yourself.
Yeah.
Right? When you want to do something, let's say you have, like in my case, I had that story that for a long time I convinced myself that it wasn't relevant. Actually, I was just afraid. So it's really important when, we go through life to pay attention to what is happening within ourselves.
Yeah.
And in the world we are living in, it's so difficult. It's challenging because it's so loud out there that it's not common for people to take the time to listen to the conversation within.
Exactly.
It's important. Anytime, you want to ignore a topic, or you don't want to do something, or you find excuses to not do something that is probably beneficial for you to do, pay attention to the conversation within and ask yourself these simple questions. Am I afraid, or is it something that I really don't want to do?
Yeah.
Because there's a difference between not wanting to do something because it doesn't feel aligned, or being afraid of doing it.
And it's a very important question to ask, because if we're avoiding something because of fear, then that's something that we need to really learn to push through, because so many of us avoid things because we're scared of doing something. But like you said, if you're not aligned to it, it doesn't feel right, then that's a completely different situation. So how do people begin to hear those voices? How do people begin to really go deep inside if they've never really tapped into that spiritual side and really tapped into that intuition that's trying to talk to them, that's trying to let them know what's happening? How do they begin to do that?
What I love to tell people is that everybody knows exactly how that voice sounds.
Yeah.
We just don't want to admit that that's what that voice is. A simple example. Have you ever, if you're listening to this right now, have you ever, let me take a stupid example. You want to go out, it's sunny outside, and just have a thought. Take an umbrella, soft thought or a soft voice, and your brain gets in. Your brain is reasonable. Your brain is not crazy. So your brain gets in and be like, what are you talking about? What umbrella? It's sunny outside. This is ridiculous. Can you believe can you just imagine how people are going to look at you outside if you go out with an umbrella when it's so sunny?
Until it starts raining.
Exactly. And during those moments, you're like, this is ridiculous. You go out without an umbrella, and then it starts raining like 45 minutes later. And then all of a sudden you remember, oh, I thought of taking an umbrella, but I didn't. Maybe it's not the exact example, but how many times in your life have you thought about something that was just subtle? It wasn't like forcing you to do something, but it was just like a suggestion, and it didn't make sense. But afterward, when you look back, you're like, oh, actually, I wanted to do this. Actually, I thought of doing it, but it didn't make sense, so I didn't. I should have. We all have that. So there is no way somebody can come here and tell me, I don't know how to connect to the spiritual side of me, because there is nothing that you have to do. It's part of you.
Yeah.
We are 100% human and 100% divine. You don't need to do a special training to access that. You just need to pay more attention to become familiar.
And I think the problem is that all of our minds are so busy all the time that we don't quieten down enough to be able to hear what the messages that are coming. So this is why just taking that quiet time, and why meditation is so beneficial when it comes to really being able to dig deep inside and hear those messages. So when we're talking about clarity, we've just talked about how we can look from within and really start to figure out what messages are coming across. So if somebody's not clear about what they're wanting to do, but they are trying to figure out, is it because of something someone else is wanting me to do, or is it because of something that I really want to do myself? How would they figure that out? Because there's so many voices coming at us every second of every day saying, this is what you're supposed to be like. You're supposed to look like this, feel like this, act like this. And if you do anything outside of that, then you're abnormal. How would somebody recognize that?
It starts with just getting into the idea of, okay, I'm starting a new relationship with myself.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds really intriguing like that, but that's what it is.
Yeah.
You are trying to reconnect with yourself, because the clarity, sometimes people come and ask you, how can I get where I want to go?
Mm-hmm.
And I love to tell people, which sometimes drives them crazy, but that's what it is. You know exactly how to get there.
Yeah.
All the answers we are looking for are within ourselves. So the question is, how connected to ourselves are we to be able to access the answers? So the first step definitely is for you to decide to start a new relationship with yourself, to rediscover who you really are, because you have been so bombarded by what is good, what is right, what is wrong, that you forgot definitely who you want to be or what you really want. So the first thing is to decide that, okay, now I want to learn again, to remember what I really want, to make sure that if I do something, if I make a decision, which we do all day, every day, we are making decisions. Before I make a decision, can I check in with myself first and make sure that I feel good about it? One simple example that, you can start practicing on a daily basis, even when you're picking up the clothes you want to wear for the day. When you open your closet, pay attention to the clothes that is calling you, because everything is energy. You will feel drawn to one cloth. But sometimes you get in your head and be like, no, for where I want to go right now, it looks more professional to wear this, makes more sense to, if I wear this, it looks, that's now something coming outside of
over. It's your ego taking over at that point.
Exactly. So those are little things that you start recreating that relationship, to be able to hear clearly when you feel that, okay, this is the next step. This is what I really want to do. Because when you start building that, even on those little things, what do I want to wear? What do I want to eat? Without doing because it makes sense, but just this is what I feel pulled to do. This is where my soul is leading me. Those little exercises, the more you practice that, is like every other relationship. The more you spend time together, the more you practice the communication, it will become easier for you when you are, maybe watching somebody on Facebook promoting an offer, to go in that conversation, ask yourself, is this something that I want to do, or I'm just having FOMO because everybody's buying and I just feel like I have to buy?
Yeah,
or
I actually had a situation. Yeah, I had a situation like that not long ago where where there was something that I was looking at purchasing, and it was something online, and all of a sudden I started hearing this my inner voice, because I'm very connected to my higher self. I'm very connected to source, and I started hearing this voice going, "This is not something that you need. This is not something you need." But I was being pulled, because I was being pulled into all the marketing and everything else that was coming out. And and it just said to me, this is not something that you need. I never ended up going with it, because I knew deep within that that it wasn't the right thing for me. And yet we are pulled in by all of the stuff that's out there, that we don't go deep and figure out, look, we have got so much out there that we're bombarded with, so many products that we purchase thinking that it's going to always help us. But unless you actually connect to that inner source, then you're not able to get the answers that you're looking for. So that's...
Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes we live in fear, right? We are so afraid either to make the wrong decision, that we end up making the wrong
decision.
Yeah. If you are led by fear, ultimately, you will not get the result you really wanted. If you are afraid to miss out, if you are afraid that, oh, this person has been calling me over and over again, they were not going to like me if I don't say yes to their offer. This person have done so much for me, I have to do something in exchange.
Yeah.
If you are led by fear, oh, this program, this person is saying that it's going to take my business to the next level. If I don't do it, what if I fail?
It's gonna fail.
Right? What if I don't succeed? because it seems like everybody is saying that it's a great program. You are led by fear. So always pay attention to the conversation happening within yourself. Sometimes what I do when, the ego is there, the lovely ego is there. There's nothing we can do about it, right? So when the ego steps in and start this, first of all, you have to know the difference between the two.
Yeah.
And one thing I want to share is that your thoughts are not who you are. You are different, completely different from your thought. Whatever voice is in your head is not you. You are hearing the voice. That means you are separate from the voice. That's why you are hearing it. You are not the voice. So sometimes it's interesting to step out of the conversation and watch the dialogue between the two voices and pay attention to really what is going on. And you'll be amazed to realize that where the fear is, you can identify the fear and you can deal with it better. But sometimes people think they are their thoughts. And when the thoughts start running, they feel it's them and they will have to act on it. No, you don't have to act on anything. You can just pay attention, listen to the conversation, and make a clear decision. Because when you are paying attention, you are being the observer of your own thoughts. It's easier for you to identify the fear, to identify the ego, and there's no judgment to have, right? If you see the fear coming over, you say, I get it, because our brain is there to protect us, to keep us safe. So just when you identify the brain giving you all the crazy reasons why you shouldn't do anything, because it's so scary, because the war's going to happen, because it's going to be the end of the world if you do that, acknowledge that and say, I get it. And you're right. All of those things can happen. You're right. To just, first of all, lower the resistance. And then say, what if? Let's just think about it. What if it doesn't happen? Is it possible that all those things don't actually happen? And play with that. Sometimes, because our brain goes to get us answers. If you start giving options, like, what if we actually do that and this is the outcome? How cool would that be? How good would that feel?
Exactly.
And then the energy around it.
It's changing the questions that you're asking. So instead of saying, what if this does happen? You say, but there's a really good chance that that's not going to happen. So what if that doesn't happen? And instead of the whole economy crashing, all of a sudden, I'm abundant in riches. There's the different ways of being able to reword it. So your subconscious mind is not focusing on all of the negatives in this world and all of the how terrible our world is and all of the other stuff that we commonly hear. Now, when people are trying to build that clarity and they're figuring out what they're wanting to do, and they have these really big goals, really big dreams, how do they keep the confidence to know that they are actually capable of achieving that, because they have so many people around them that say that they're crazy?
Exactly. The first thing is to realize that we are the ones calling it big goal. Or big dream. We call it big. We do. No one else. Just to say we give meaning to things that don't mean anything, but what make them mean. So if you decide, when you have something you want to achieve, you decide it's doable. You come from that place of, this is what I want, it's doable. It will not look like it's a big goal. I worked with a client. She came and she wanted some, that's what like I was saying at first, people sometimes think this is what I want, but that's really not what they want. So I like to really go deep to make sure that you are not working on something else than what you really want. So she wanted to get a promotion at her job, and she had a dream in her heart that for her was too big, and she just wasn't ready for it. She just didn't have the money. When it wasn't a good time, it was in the middle of the pandemic, and then all of the things, right? But then in the conversation, first you have to realize that you are the one that makes it look big. So the first thing you have to ask yourself, okay, what is the one thing that I can do today? The goal is not to achieve everything today, everything in one day, right?
No.
If you want to build a house, you will not have to buy everything the first day to start building the house. What is the one thing you can buy today, knowing that the end goal is the house? When you break it down in small things, it doesn't look that big anymore. So before the end of 3 months, she was already on track to start making money out of the goal she was putting out for the next 5 years, because it just wasn't, she wasn't ready. She didn't have the money. The economy wasn't at the right place. The world was going crazy. Because in her head, that's the story she told herself. I want you to remember that you get to create the story. You get to make the rules for yourself. You get to decide what is too big, what is impossible, and what is possible. Sometimes when somebody tells me, but nobody does it this way, I ask, says who?
Yeah.
If you've realized that, oh, it's impossible, doesn't come from you. It comes from what you have seen other people try and fail, what you have seen other people, do and never succeed, or they told you it was impossible. Just decide that I'm going to make it possible. Or you can, when I started my business, they told me I wanted to start doing podcasts, guesting and all of that. And they said, you just got started. Nobody's going to have you on their podcast. Anyway, you don't have it downloadable. You don't even have a website and all of the things. And now I'm just a free spirit like that. And every time they tell me you can't do that, something in me just, decides that it has to happen.
Pushes us to do it, doesn't it? Yeah.
It just has to happen, because I know it's not impossible. So as soon as they tell me it's impossible, it has to happen. It just has to. So I decided, I didn't say anything because they knew better, right? That's what sometimes happens. You listen to people because they know better. They have been there, done that. So of course you have to follow what they're saying. As well-meaning and well-intended as they are, they don't get to make the rules for you. You get to do that. You get to decide what is going to be possible for you, what is going to be achievable right here and now. So I started just reaching out, and then decided that, okay, I'm going to become a speaker, and I'll be invited to places. Sure enough, in the middle of the lockdown, I got so many podcast interviews, so many events. I even got booked for a stage in Las Vegas. Of course, that couldn't happen, but at least everything they told me was impossible started happening. Not because I created a website, not because I was ready, like I had a signature talk or anything, but just because I decided that it was possible. It's really important for you to remember you have that power. You have that power. But if you say the same power you have to create it is the same power you have to decide that it's impossible. And if you say it's impossible, you're right. It's impossible.
But if you say it's possible, then you're also right.
You're right. So you get to decide. Remember that. You decide. So if you feel like, oh, but this is too big, but this is just, I can't do it right now, just stop for a second and ask, says who? Why can't I? And I guarantee you, if you decide to look around, maybe Google it, you will find people that are doing it.
Yeah.
Sometimes our brain needs evidence like that to prove to our brain that it's doable. Maybe one other person on the planet has done it. So if that person did it, it's possible. Yeah. It's doable. So let's do it.
And so how do we build our confidence enough to realize that, to just go out and step into that fear and step out there and tell ourselves, because I do the same thing. If my limited beliefs are telling me something which I know is not really the case, I go and look for examples of people that have done something or that really go against that limited belief. And that's the way that you can retrain it back. But I know confidence is something that women can struggle with because of maybe from being a child and being brought up. And how do we actually start to deal with that confidence?
The first thing I want to share about confidence is that it's really an inside game. I know you hear a lot that, confidence comes from doing it, but I guarantee you it doesn't. Yeah. There is a lady that, was a host of a show on TV, and she used to have guests that were rock stars, having concerts in front of thousands of people around the world. And she shared that every time she has these rock stars on her show, she'll be so excited because they were big names. And while they were getting them ready to be on stage, she said they all said the same thing. Can you just guess what they said? I am so scared.
I'm so scared. I was going to say that they would have said, I'm so nervous or something like that.
No, they said, I am so scared. And she didn't get it, because those people used to perform on big stages around the world in front of
very
thousands
different.
of people.
Yeah.
If practice was giving confidence by them doing that over and over again, they will never be scared to have an interview with a girl in a studio. By the way, which means you don't become confident the more you do it. Every time you'll be scared. If that's how you want to become confident, by doing. Again, you're looking for answers outside of yourselves.
Yeah.
That's why it's sometimes today you want to show up, and because you didn't get it, you collapse. And after the interview, what they will say again, first question they will ask her, just guess what the question was. How did I do?
How did I do?
That's a rock star concerned about being good enough. That's the key here. If you do not feel good enough, there is no way you will do it long enough to become confident.
Yeah.
It starts within, by you remembering that I am good enough. It doesn't matter the outcome of what I'm going to do. It doesn't matter if I succeed. It doesn't matter if I fail, which is just, again, a story we tell ourselves. It doesn't matter if people accept it. It doesn't matter if people reject it. It doesn't mean anything about who I am. I am good enough. So when you remember that, when you are grounded in that knowing of who you really are, you are not afraid to show up, because the fear of showing up is, again, as those rock stars, are people going to like me? What are people going to think? Am I going to be good enough? But when you have that confidence within yourself that I am good enough, it doesn't matter if I screw up. It doesn't matter if I crush it. It doesn't change my identity. From that place, you will always show up with confidence, because you know the outcome doesn't define you. It can go the way you want it. It can go the different route. It doesn't mean anything, because that fear of showing up is the fear of people will find out that I'm not good enough.
Yeah. And worrying so much about what other people are going to think. I think that's
we don't feel good enough.
Yeah. And once you let that go and you realize that whether they like you or they don't like you, you're still enough, and you're still good enough to, you're getting out there and you're doing it. And once I let that go, and that's what I wanted to touch on too. Why is it so important that we learn to just let go when it comes to building confidence?
To just let go, of course, because the need to get a result comes from a place of fear.
Yeah.
Because we are afraid that if we do not get the result we want, it's going to mean something about us. Something that I like to help entrepreneurs with is to detach themselves from whatever they're trying to create. Remember, keep in mind that whatever I'm trying to create doesn't mean anything about me.
Yeah.
We tend to identify ourselves with our results. If I have the result I want, I feel good. If I fail, I feel bad, because it means that I'm a failure. No, it doesn't mean that you're a failure. Whatever happens doesn't mean anything about you.
Yeah.
If you have a lot of money in your bank account, it doesn't mean anything about you. If you have $0 in your bank account, it doesn't mean anything about you.
Yeah.
But the world is telling you a different story. I remember somebody posted on social media once, he said, the money in your bank account determines the value you bring in the world. And I felt it was terrible, because now all of a sudden, people that don't have a lot of money in their bank account will not feel valuable. But the truth is you are valuable even when you have $0 in your bank account.
Yeah.
That's why people are suffering, not feeling good enough, because the world is telling you, prove that you are good enough. Prove us with your results. Prove us with how many accomplishments. Prove us with how much you have in your bank account. Prove that you are good enough. Prove that you are valuable. Prove that you are worthy. But the truth is, we are born worthy, valuable, good enough, and nothing has changed. The only thing that has changed is the story we have told ourselves. You don't need any evidence, which means the result will not come to prove anything about who you are. Who you are never changes. You are always good enough. The moment you wake up in the morning, before you do anything, you are already good enough. So whatever you do after that will not change who you are. And when you come from that place, it's really easy for you to show up with confidence, because you know who you are. You know I'm good enough. You know I'm valuable. I'm worthy. It doesn't matter what happens. That fear will, yes, sometimes we have, that it's natural to have that, those butterflies in your stomach when you want to do something new. But that fear of showing up will leave you, because the result will not mean anything about me. Even if people don't accept it, it's okay, because it doesn't mean anything about me. I'm still good enough. I'm valuable. I'm worthy. I don't become valuable or worthy after I've done something. And I cannot lose my value or my worthiness if I lose something, if I fail at something. If something doesn't work out the way I planned, I'm not losing my value.
And that's why working on your self-worth and understanding that you are worthy, just the person that you are, is really, really important when it comes to developing that self-confidence. So they kind of go hand in hand. Wow, that's incredible, Christelle. Thank you so much for being with us today to discuss these very important topics. Remember that you are capable of anything in this world if you believe it, if you believe in yourself and you believe everything that you are able to achieve. So thank you, Christelle, and for bringing this information to the audience, and I hope that you have a remarkable day.
Thank you so much, Jennifer. Thank you.
Is there any information you'd like to give our listeners before we went on where they can contact you and that sort of thing?
Yes, absolutely. So as you mentioned at the beginning of this show, I have a podcast called Absolute Alignment with Christelle, When Success Feels Easy. And we have a live studio audience on each show, which means you can be with us in the studio while we are recording it, and afterward have the opportunity to ask your questions and get live coaching from myself and from the guests. So if you're interested, the link is going to be available. I think Jennifer will have that link available for you.
We'll be in the show notes.
Save your seat and be my VIP guest in the next episode of Absolute Alignment with Christelle, When Success Feels Easy.
Fantastic. Thank you, Christelle. You have an awesome rest of your day, and we'll catch up soon.
Thank you. You too. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye.